Hello everybody, it's the Alco Diesel Guy, and yes, we're back on my HO scale bench, which means it's time for another HO scale project. Today I've got a really interesting one for you. This is an Alco C420 by Atlas, which I picked up on eBay a while back, as you can see right there. It doesn't run. I don't know much about this engine other than the fact that it didn't run and it was for sale for something resembling reasonable, so I bought it, and now I'm going to try to make it work. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to go cut open the tape here. I already did one side. Right here with the sharp blade of a Phillips head flathead screwdriver. If you happen to have a Phillips head screwdriver, that's one of the easiest things you can substitute for a knife to open boxes, at least I find. Okay, so here we are. Let's go take a look and see what's a cooking. Now the person who sold this to me says it doesn't run at all. So obviously in this video I'm going to attempt to make it run, and then perhaps install DCC and sound if it doesn't have it. I don't think this has sound. It's an earlier edition. Yeah, this is the classic edition. Pardon me. Classic edition. And looking at the box here, I don't know how well this comes out. It's kind of washed out. Like it's been sitting in the sun for a while or in storage. It doesn't look like this saw much service. The instructions look brand new. They're still folded up, which is interesting. This does not appear to be a DCC ready, so I'm going to assume there's something more basic wrong with this unit. So with that, I'm going to use an analog power pack to work on this thing. I actually have one sitting right over here. Let me go pull it out. Okay, here it is. This is my controller. This is an old model power that I usually use on this bench. And again, it's equipped with this easy plug, so I can go right into my easy track section that I have set up right in front, as many of you have seen or have noticed by now in this video. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to get this thing out of here and see exactly what is going on with it. The description is nondescript. The description on eBay was nondescript, other than it was being sold as is. And oh, I just saw something here. This has a DCC ready plug on it. So I wonder, does this have DCC on it? Some of the earlier runs of these did have DCC installed on them. And I wonder if the reason why this doesn't run is if someone pulled the decoder on it. I think I know what happened with this one. Someone owned this model at one point, obviously. As I get this thing out of here safely. And pulled the decoder on it. And put the dummy plug back in the box, which is what we're seeing here. And I think that's what's going on here. That's why this doesn't do anything. And I can confirm it doesn't do anything because I've already plugged it in. I didn't realize my throttle's at full. So without further ado, I'm going to try something else. Let me put my DCC system back in and try that. Because I'm thinking I know what's wrong here. Either the decoder is installed on this thing, and it works on DCC. Or it had a decoder at one point, and the seller the original owner of this sold it to who, or gave it, or somehow or other it got acquired by the previous owner that sold it to me. And instead of reinstalling installing the dummy plug, and probably pulled the decoder, and then just simply didn't reinstall the dummy plug, which is what I'm thinking is going on. Let's try this with DCC on it. I don't have a number for this engine. This is completely number free. No buzz. That's a good sign. What I'm going to do now is, well, actually, I don't have the power on. First, let's see what happens here if I turn the juice on for the DCC system. Again, I'm using an MRC Prodigy Advanced Squared, which is off the bench on the bottom over here on my lower table. Chiefly because I don't have the room to put it up here. Here's the throttle for it. I'm going to now actually plug it in. Yes, either A, this thing was about to get sold, and so the original seller decided they wanted the decoder, so they pulled the old one, but put the dummy plug in the box, as I showed a second ago. They pulled the old decoder and kept the dummy plug, but didn't reinstall the dummy plug. And no response to address 3. Or B, it has a DCC decoder installed and it failed. Or C, someone pulled the dummy plug and forgot to put it in. I'm actually leaning toward the dummy plug not being installed and the unit not having it for whatever reason, having the decoder, whether the original decoder was removed or whether the seller in question was going to install DCC and just never got to it, or whether he decided to pull it and was going to put the regular, and was going to just sell it like this and didn't get to it. Let's go ahead and try to write an address to it. I'm going to just program this for address number 3 just to make it simple. So let's go now and program to programming track. I just changed the plug now. This is now the programming track plugged in here. Let's go and do something else. Prog track. Let's try address number 3. Prog track, address 3, enter. No response either. So I'm thinking that's what happened here. The decoder was at one point installed and pulled. Let's go ahead and take this thing apart and see what's going on underneath the hood. I do have some foam I would lay down, but it's actually going to create a problem because the camera is so close to my bench. I would probably whack the camera and do a little more and do a little less. So I prefer to use this method when I'm filming, if anyone's wondering. So right now what I'm doing is I'm taking the 2 screws by the couplers out, as you've seen. Right there. It's the front one coming out. I do have my magnetic part spin here I'm going to toss these into, so I don't lose them, because these things you don't want to lose. You can get parts for these on and off. They go in and out of stock on Amazon and eBay. I should say eBay and Atlas itself. But lose any component to the coupler at your own risk and at your huge detriment. It still has its stock couplers on here. This still has the old, nothing wrong with them per se, although it depends on who you talk to, Accumates. But yeah, you lose any of these parts, they're a pain to get a hold of, or you have to do modifications, so it's really in your best interest to make sure you don't lose them. We get the screw in there too, so that's not a magnetic part spin, that won't go anywhere. Now we can get in here and see what's going on underneath the hood. Okay, so haha, just what I thought. As I said before, here's the box where I found that little plug. As you can see, it was not installed. So if I take this out and put it in here, the unit should run. It's amazing how a lot of these things, when people give up on them, have such minimal problems. So now I'm going to put my dummy plug in. The reason why you need a dummy plug, by the way, when you don't have the decoder installed, is that this is effectively an open circuit here. The decoder cuts into it and allows the DCC functions to work with the stock light board. What the dummy board does is it just connects these functions back and creates a complete loop within the circuit board itself. The decoder, on the other hand, would obviously let these functions go to the individual features on the decoder, allowing the engine to function as a DCC locomotive. So without further ado, let's see if my little fix here works. And to be honest, if that's the fix that it took on here, it's pretty shocking. Okay, I've got my ever-reliable little power pack, model power pack on the side here, reconnected. I'm going to go ahead and connect up my power. And I'm thinking that should make this work. And there she goes. Might help if I put it on track correctly first, but yep. It's just the, so it was just the plug. So it looks like the problem was the previous owner of this, before this was sold to the person who sold it to me, or were given or whatever, yanked the dummy plug, or had a decoder most likely in here, pulled that, but left the dummy plug in there. The person who sold it to me, however, did not inspect it. They just sold it as is. But in fact, all it needed was a new decoder installed. That's a good runner. I think what I'm going to do now, since I have it open, I'm just going to do light lubrication. Since I have my oil here, I'm just going to go in there and just hit the motor a little bit. It's always hard to kind of show what I'm doing here, but I'll try to get it done. I'm going to aim right for that little thing. You don't want to put too much in there, just a little bit in that little section. It's hard to get the oil right in that gap. I usually just put it right on the outside, and the forward motion of the engine the motor itself will force the oil to go through the hole. And yeah, this looks like it's in pretty much mint condition. Looks like someone tried to work on this at one point but didn't know how, and that's why it was off the rails. Beautiful running engine, very smooth. This has the original Atlas motor on it, these earlier classic generations that I prefer. I really like this motor to the point where I'll try to find older project locomotives to work and convert with TCS, because I just love how smooth this original motor was. This is the one that came out after the Atlas Classics model got discontinued. Let me try to see, get you better in there. Oh, might help if I was a little bit more careful here. Ooh, it looks like the base plate was off on this too. Someone really went to town on this thing here. That's now clipped back into place. Let's try this one more time. Yep, nice and smooth. So with that, I have actually fixed this locomotive. It was very anticlimactic. What I think I'm going to do now is put the shell back on it and lock it down, and then decide what to do with this. go ahead and put all this back together. Now, I do have one C420 currently on the roster. I wasn't planning on having this thing work. I was assuming it was going to be a part spin part. So now I'm kind of torn. Do I turn this into another project locomotive? Do I make a C424 out of it? Do I scrap it and put it in for parts? Do I sell it? Any ideas? Post them in the comments. The one thing is, as I said before on this locomotive, I'll show you what kind of disgusts me, because someone clearly didn't know what they were doing when they tried to work on this. If you look at the rear clips here, they have been broken off. If someone couldn't get them out, and so they got so fed up, they went at it, and they did the same thing with the front here and broke these off, from what I can tell, and then tried to glue this together. So I don't know if this was the most recent owner who had this, or did this, or what. I don't know if it was because they couldn't get it to fit right. Whatever the case, that's what happened. It does fit, and it's how it's going to be for the rest of its life, because it's just too much trouble to add that back in. Any kind of glue is only going to make it worse. You see, the previous owner tried that, and it didn't work. But yeah, the wheels are in pretty good shape on this thing. I'm not going to go any deeper into this until I know what I'm doing with it. But it picks up, it runs like a champ. It's perfect. It just is unfortunate that the previous owner didn't know, or the seller didn't realize he had a good running engine there. He just didn't have his dummy plug in place. So with that, I'm going to leave it with this, and if you have any ideas what I should do with this, whether I throw DCC and sound it, which I have to admit I'm tempted to do, is I don't have many of the 16-cylinder 251s on my layout. Mainly it's 12-cylinder jobs like the RS36s, the RS32s, the RS11s. I really don't have much in the way of 16-cylinder engines because they usually come with 6-axle trucks. This one has 4, so this would be a good chance to have that sound. So anyway, what do I do with this? Do I put the sound in? Do I sell it? Do I keep it? Do I strip it for parts? All right, let me know down in the comments, and I'll come to a conclusion as to what I'll do with this thing. But anyway, in conclusion, will it run? Yes, it does. Yes, it will. And actually quite well. And that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Please like and subscribe. And as always, keep the metal side down.